Today's like goal is 6,000 likes. Please like and comment your favorite part in the comments section to support the channel. This is the story of Kim in the world of apocalypse, where people don't have food to eat or water to drink. There is a subspace where Kim can copy any of his items. In the last episode, we saw how Kim, Sol, and Youngsuk went to the Skeleton Knight's castle to defeat the Skeleton King. But there, the Skeleton King summoned Lord Lancelot, who was incredibly powerful. Kim and Sol were unable to defeat him. After that, Kim discovered that the Skeleton King's castle is an item. Kim copied the entire Skeleton King's castle into his subspace. Not only that, he also copied Lancelot, one of the most powerful 12 knights of the Skeleton King. Since this castle has 12 knights, the owner of this castle can command them. And because Kim is now the owner of this castle, he can control Lancelot. Now, Lancelot was Kim's servant. And damn, I must say, Lancelot does look like Igris from Solo Leveling. The Skeleton King was confused and worried, wondering what was going on. But before the Skeleton King could react, Lancelot slashed the Skeleton King with a single strike. As soon as Lancelot struck the Skeleton King, the purple core inside the Skeleton King was destroyed. It shattered into pieces with a small blast. Lancelot then placed his sword into the back of the Skeleton King like royalty. We see the Skeleton King's body lying in front of Lancelot, his pointy crown discarded at Lancelot's feet, and his body parts scattered on the ground. As the Skeleton King's body disappeared, a yellow mana crystal began glowing. The system notified Kim that he had killed the Skeleton King. As Lancelot transferred ownership of the Night King's dimensional account, the account was now owned by Kim. When Kim opened the system notification, a new option appeared, the dimensional account. Upon opening it, Kim realized he had received 3,086 mana stones. Seeing so many mana stones, Kim was both confused and surprised. This meant that after killing the Skeleton King, Kim had gained thousands of mana crystals all at once. Even though he was happy, Kim couldn't help but think, what would he do with so many mana stones? As Kim stood there, deep in thought, Sol placed her hand on Kim's shoulder. Sol told Kim that if Kim had a conscience, Kim should give his sweet little sister 1,000 mana stones. After all, she saved Kim's life when they entered the Skeleton King's castle. Did Kim forget that? Kim sighed and told Sol that 1,000 mana stones was too much. He told Sol she was acting like a gangster and exaggerating her role in saving his life. Kim reminded Sol that he also gave her a weapon that allowed her to fight Lancelot on equal footing for a short time. Shouldn't she repay him for that? Sol looked at Kim and said that both of them helped each other and saved each other's lives. So, it would be fair to agree on 500 mana stones instead. Kim smirked and told Sol that if she wanted to put a price on everything, then she should also pay rent for living in his subspace for free. Did Sol think she could live and sleep safely without contributing anything? Startled, Sol called Kim a beggar. She asked if Kim was so poor that he couldn't even spare 500 mana stones. Finally, annoyed, Kim handed over 500 mana stones to his sister, not wanting to argue anymore. Sol smirked, thanked Kim, and told him that the argument was over. But with a serious tone, Sol asked Kim what he planned to do next. Both Kim and Sol turned to their left. From Kim's subspace, Lancelot emerged. Towering at 10 feet tall with red glowing eyes, Lancelot walked towards them with heavy footsteps. Sol looked at Kim and asked what he would do with Lancelot. Meanwhile, Lancelot approached Kim and, in his heavy voice, called Kim his lord. Lancelot said he had carried out Kim's command and cut the Skeleton King into 2 pieces. Now, he awaited Kim's next command. Kim stood there, thinking hard about what to do with Lancelot. The scene shifted, and Kim told us that no one could have predicted what happened next. We saw Lancelot standing still. On his head sat Youngsu's daughter, tightly holding on to the feather of Lancelot's helmet. Lancelot gently moved to keep her entertained. Watching from behind, Kim, Juhi, and Sol were stunned. Kim thought to himself that he never imagined one of the most dangerous knights would end up like this. On the other hand, we see that Youngsu and his wife are standing right in front of Lancelot. Youngsu's wife is beaming with joy as she watches her daughter playing happily with Lancelot. She apologizes to Lancelot and tells him that their daughter is usually not very playful and doesn't enjoy playing with strangers. But this is the first time their daughter has played so well with someone she just met. This, Youngsu's wife says, means her daughter really likes Lancelot. While Youngsu's wife is overjoyed, we can't say the same about Youngsu. He just stands there with his mouth wide open, stunned, as if his entire life has been shattered. His expression screams despair, like he's been sentenced to death. Meanwhile, Lancelot continues playing with Young-Soo's daughter. Lancelot calmly replies to Young-Soo's wife, saying that helping the Lord's comrades is helping the Lord himself. Young-Soo's wife apologizes repeatedly, worried that her daughter, now so fond of Lancelot, will trouble him again and again to play with her. But Lancelot, with his deep and commanding voice, reassures her that it's no trouble at all. He says he loves children, and she was like his own daughter. Lancelot doesn't mind how many times her daughter comes to play with him. He will play with her as much as she wants without complaining. On the other hand, Young-Soo looks devastated. He is on the verge of tears and keeps thinking to himself, does my daughter not like to play with me? Does she not enjoy playing with her own dad? From a distance, Kim, Joo-hee, and Young-Soo watch this happy and emotional moment unfold. Joo-hee, with a warm and heartfelt smile, turns to Kim and says that it's impossible not to like someone so considerate and kind. She comments that Lancelot is not only strong, but also kind-hearted and good-natured, the kind of person everyone would like. But Kim doesn't share Joo-hee's opinion. With a side-eye, Kim mutters that calling Lancelot a person doesn't feel right. He points out that Lancelot is a damn skeleton knight, and no one knows what lies inside his armor. However, after a moment of thought, Kim admits that Lancelot was never inherently evil. He realizes that Lancelot was merely following the commands of the Skeleton King. The real evil was the Skeleton King himself. Kim reflects further and acknowledges that now, away from the Skeleton King's influence and under Kim's control, Lancelot appears to be good and kind-hearted. This makes Kim reconsider his initial judgment and even trust Lancelot to some extent. Joo-hee, noticing Kim's contemplative expression, turns to him with a serious tone and asks, "Will you go to Dobongu City right now?" Kim looks at Joo-hee and tells her that he will go to Dobongu City right now because their older brother's new house is there. But after hearing this, Joo-hee gets a little tensed. She tells Kim that she has noticed from the beginning that Kim is working very hard and hasn't rested properly in so many days. With a worried and tensed face, Joo-hee tells Kim that while she knows he is in a hurry, what will happen if he collapses or falls sick? Joo-hee pleads with Kim to take better care of his body, warning him that pushing himself too hard could result in serious health problems. If that happens, who will take care of him then? Joo-hee insists that it's too late to leave now. She advises Kim to rest tonight, and when the sun rises tomorrow morning, he can go and save their brother. Kim listens to his elder sister, nodding in agreement. Kim then looks at his wife and daughter. His daughter is still sitting on the head of Lancelot, and Young-Soo is making all kinds of excuses to try and get her down. Young-Soo, wearing a weird face, tells his daughter to get off Lancelot's head and sit on her father's shoulders instead. He even offers to play the role of a brave knight. But Young-Soo's daughter starts hitting the head of Lancelot and shouts that her father is boring. She wants to play with a real knight, not a fake one. Hearing this, Young-Soo feels bad, but he doesn't show it on his face. On the other hand, Young-Soo's wife starts teasing her husband, joking that even she will not want to play with Young-Soo, a fake knight. Instead, she will choose to play with Lancelot because Lancelot is a real knight. And damn, I must say, why on God's green earth am I picturing Lancelot playing with Young-Soo's wife? Curse my mind, curse my dirty mind. And damn, I must say, why on God's green earth am I picturing Lancelot playing with Young-Soo's wife? Curse my mind, curse my dirty mind. After seeing this heartwarming and emotional scene, Kim stands silently for a moment. With a warm smile, he says they will enjoy the night, take some rest, and leave tomorrow morning to save their brother. The scene shifts, and we see Young-Soo taking his daughter on his shoulder. She has fallen asleep after playing with Lancelot for 2-3 hours, and Young-Soo is carrying her with a satisfied smile, as though he's achieved everything in life. His daughter's tired, peaceful face on his back is enough to make him feel fulfilled. Kim tells Young-Soo that he should take his wife and daughter to a private room and enjoy the night. Kim assures him that they'll leave in the morning. Young-Soo agrees and heads off with his family. After some time, everyone leaves the room. As soon as the room is empty, Sol, with a smirking smile, slowly takes off his shirt and walks toward Kim. Sol tells Kim that now that everyone has gone to sleep, they can start their main work. Kim, with a knowing smile, turns toward Lancelot and asks if he needs a place to rest. Kim then summons the Camelot Castle, and we see a small Camelot Castle appear in Kim's hand. The system notifies Kim that this is a unique grade artifact known as the Palace of the Cursed Knight. The system explains that the size of the castle depends on how much mana stone Kim invests. The installation cost is directly tied to the size. The castle has 3 overpowered abilities. Blood sacrifice. By sacrificing livestock, Kim can produce reinforcement stones. Summon a ghost. Using mana crystals, Kim can summon the ghost of Camelot Castle. Investment as a knight. Kim can appoint a summoned ghost as a knight. By combining the ghost with a reinforcement stone, Kim can create a knight as powerful as Lancelot. Kim finds these abilities to be overpowered and awesome. However, he notices that the castle's size depends on the mana stones he invests. For example, if Kim invests 500 mana stones, the castle will be 500 feet big, and if he invests 1,000 mana stones, it will be 1,000 feet big. Kim looks at the Camelot Castle in his hand and smiles, realizing its unlimited potential. So Kim decides how big the castle should be. Kim thinks that there can be 12 knights in the castle, but he doesn't know whether he can summon an unlimited number of ghosts and create an unlimited knight army or not. For now, Kim has only one objective: to first summon 12 knights. Kim calculates that a 300-square-foot castle should be enough for 12 knights. After deciding this, Kim invests 300 mana stones. As soon as Kim invests the mana stones, Camelot Castle begins to grow and expands into a 300-square-foot structure. The now larger castle appears in front of Lancelot, Kim, and Saul. However, Kim can't shake off the creepy vibe the castle is giving. While staring at the eerie structure, Kim asks Lancelot if the size is enough for 12 knights like Lancelot. Lancelot responds with a calm tone, saying that he doesn't care about the size, as he can live anywhere without an issue. Lancelot then jokes, saying that the castle is as small as the Skeleton King's little pee-pee, and that compared to his Lord Kim's subspace, this castle is nothing. Lancelot explains that when Kim summons the Skeleton Knights in the future, they will live in Kim's subspace, and Camelot Castle will only be useful for summoning the knights. On the other hand, Saul is shocked. She thinks about how huge Camelot Castle became with just 300 magic stones and realizes that the Skeleton King's Camelot Castle was at least 30 times bigger. This means that the bastard Skeleton King must have used an insane amount of magic stones to make his castle that massive. Lancelot, overhearing this, confirms that while he doesn't know the exact number, he recalls the Skeleton King using tens of thousands of magic stones to construct Camelot Castle. Hearing this, Saul is even more surprised, realizing just how much effort and resources the Skeleton King poured into his gigantic castle. Meanwhile, Kim begins to think. Even though he stored such a large entity in his subspace, there were no after effects. Kim wonders if it's because the castle is originally small, but this thought worries him. Camelot Castle is almost like a city in itself, yet storing it caused no issues in his subspace. Kim decides to set those thoughts aside and turns to Saul. Kim asks why Saul isn't resting yet, mentioning that the night is long and she should take a break. But Saul explains that she has something to ask Lancelot personally and has been waiting for the right moment to speak. And that moment has come. Saul, with an excited gleam, turns to Lancelot and says she's been waiting a long time to ask him something she finds very attractive. Saul places her hands on her waist, looks at Lancelot with confidence, and says she wants to learn Lancelot's swordsmanship. Saul requests Lancelot to teach her his skills. Kim, overhearing this, is surprised. He thinks that if Lancelot teaches Saul his swordsmanship, she will become more powerful, and this will greatly help them in the future. On the other hand, Lancelot becomes excited. In his deep voice, he says he will gladly teach Saul his swordsmanship, but has one condition. Lancelot tells Saul that this is the right time to make his request. He says that when Saul used her martial arts against him, he found it fascinating. Lancelot tells Saul that if she wants to learn his swordsmanship, then she must teach him her martial arts. In return, Lancelot will teach her his swordsmanship. Hearing this, Saul gives a smirking smile, and then her face transforms into that of a psycho woman. With a maniacal expression, Saul tells Lancelot that he is very intelligent, as her martial arts are indeed impressive. Saul calls Lancelot a small kid and teases him, saying that her training is very intense. She questions whether Lancelot will even be able to handle it. On the other hand, Kim observes this from behind and thinks about how Saul is always training. Whenever there's a discussion about martial arts, Saul's excitement knows no bounds. She's a martial arts fanatic. Meanwhile, Saul, with a psychopathic smile, continues to taunt Lancelot. She suggests that before starting the training, they should have a simple sparring session. The scene shifts, and we see Kim feeling very sleepy. While taking a nap, Kim starts heading to his room in Camelot Castle. On the other hand, Lancelot and Saul begin their sparring session. Saul finds the sparring very enjoyable, pushing Lancelot to his limits. And with this, Lancelot finally becomes a safe member of their group, a true family member. The scene shifts again, and we see Kim and Young-soo watching from their subspace. Both of them are very surprised because they notice a lot of military officers in the area. The officers are communicating through walkie-talkies and seem to be exploring the place. Young-soo, confused, says, "Are there other people besides us who want to move in the morning?" But Kim finds the entire situation very strange. Just as Kim is about to say that something feels odd, a strange sound echoes in the sky. It's the sound of a helicopter. Looking up, they see a helicopter flying in front of Kim. Young-soo, recognizing it, says to Kim, "That helicopter looks very familiar." Kim realizes it too. It's the same helicopter that Kim copied into his subspace and left with the general. The helicopter stops right in front of Kim's subspace. Finally, the general steps out of the helicopter, looking very happy. As soon as he steps down, the general hurriedly greets Kim, saying, "Hello, Kim." The general approaches Kim with excitement. Kim, looking at the general, says that it's nice to see him too. Kim then asks if the general is okay. The general replies that he is fine, but explains that he's been looking for Kim for a very long time. Finally, he was able to meet Kim. The general says that when the wall of Yuljoro City disappeared, he realized that it must be Kim's work. Hearing this, Kim becomes annoyed and asks the general if he has come here to convince Kim to join the military. Kim, with an irritated face, makes it clear that if this is about joining the military, his answer is no. He has no interest in joining because his priority is to find his family. The general immediately clarifies, saying, "Kim, you're misunderstanding." The general explains that he isn't here to ask Kim to join the military. Instead, the general has very important news to share. Becoming very serious, the general says to Kim, "Traveling by helicopter is not safe for you. The group that betrayed the military has captured a military base, and they have air defense systems in place. This means that if Kim and Young-soo travel by helicopter, and because the helicopter is a military helicopter, especially a general's helicopter, the enemy forces will kill them mid-air and destroy the helicopter." Kim and Young-soo are very surprised after hearing this. The general provides all the details to Kim. He explains that the group that betrayed the military has captured a military base and now controls many air defense forces. The general shares how he had sent a scouting team in the same helicopter that Kim had previously given him. That helicopter was blasted mid-air, and the general has no data on those people. Becoming a little worried, the general tells Kim that he remembers Kim mentioning that he is traveling the city to save his family. The general thought that if Kim traveled by helicopter to save his family, the situation could become very dangerous for Kim. After hearing this, Kim realizes that if they had traveled by helicopter, their deaths would have been almost certain. Kim acknowledges that his life could have been in danger. First of all, Kim thanks the general for this critical information. At this point, the general changes the subject. He mentions that last night, the wall disappeared from this city, which means that Kim defeated the Skeleton Knight. However, Kim isn't paying full attention to the general's words. Instead, Kim thinks about what the general said regarding the next city being captured by the military. Kim realizes that if the military has already captured the next city, it won't take much time for them to seize other cities. Even if Kim travels the entire city to save his family, the military's control would still pose a huge threat. Moreover, the Black Wyvern, a deadly force that can destroy helicopters, adds to the danger. Kim concludes that to save his brother, he must travel to Dangu City, which the military has captured. This means Kim must destroy the enemy camp to ensure his brother's safety. With a dead serious face, Kim takes action. First, he calls the Lord. The subspace opens, and from it, a dark shadow emerges. The general looks confused and scared. Kim, with a confident and serious expression, tells the general that he had asked if Kim defeated the Skeleton Knight. Kim confirms, saying, "Yes, I defeated the Skeleton Knight and captured him." As Kim speaks, the Skeleton Knight emerges. a 10-foot-tall figure with glowing red eyes, wielding a huge sword and an iron shield. The knight slowly stands behind Kim. The general looks at the skeleton knight in pure terror and disbelief. The thought hits him. This knight is 10 times more powerful than the previous skeleton knight, and now this dangerous entity is under Kim's control, ready to obey his every command. The general struggles to process everything he is witnessing. Kim states confidently that his older brother's new house is in Dangu City, the same city where the military camp is located. This means Kim has no choice but to go to Dangu City. With a confident smile, Kim turns to the general and asks, "How about we kill all those military people?" The general, overwhelmed with joy and relief, feels tears welling up in his eyes. He looks at Kim as if he's staring at a god. And with that, the episode ends here. Don't forget to comment your favorite part of this episode in the comments section. The goal for this episode is to reach 5,000 likes. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. See you in the next episode. Goodbye.